Welcome everyone to the Persian perspective.
Ooh. Say it again slowly, please.
Welcome everyone to the Persian perspective.
Ooh, there's like 20 panties that just dropped.
Yeah, I didn't know you were wearing panties. So.
Only for you.
Man, 20 of them. Oh god damn. All right, so welcome my special guest, my dear friend Akbar, Chuck E. Cheese, whatever.
Fuck you.
And today our episode will be discussing a man's journey into subconscious after taking I suppose you should call it a hero dose, but they call it this one a hero dose of LSD is usually marked around 300 to 400. But what if a man decides to go beyond the threshold?
Twice, like double
into the abyss. What if Achilles was on steroids? What if Hercules was on steroids?
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it was powerful. It was powerful.
Genuinely, I need to know. By the way, did you read anything prior to deciding to do that?
So just like some background, I did a little bit of LSD, about 200 micrograms, which is like 2 tablets. So I live in a place somewhere in Western Europe where you can find designer LSD, which is, they call it 1CP LSD. There is a variant now, it's called 1V LSD. It's basically one molecule change just to make it legal enough so that the government doesn't give you shit about it, because it's technically not LSD. It's a LSD 99.9%, just how the molecules change. I'm pretty sure a chemist can explain it a lot better than I just did, but that's how it was explained to me. So I did it about 2 months ago, and it was 200 micrograms, and it was pretty good experience. Like, I tripped for almost 9 hours. It was my first try with psychedelics. It was pretty powerful, I want to say. I've seen some interesting shit in there, and it was a pretty emotional journey. I talked with you about it before.
Yeah.
But yeah, this time I wanted to try something a little bit more. So I decided to maybe up the dosage a little bit. So I tried 600 micrograms.
Yeah. Brother, I swear to you, but as you were building up to saying 600, my palm started to sweat a little bit.
Like, the idea was that I thought, like, I read about it, and I read that you can. I read this website called trippingly.com or something. It's like a blog where some dude said the percentages and how much of a journey can you have, like what's going to happen when that happens. So I thought, like, maybe, like, okay, with 200, he said, like, you're going to have a pretty good journey. Well, what if we do something like 600? And he actually said that with 600, you can have a pretty interesting ego dissolution, and basically you will lose control of your body, and you will have extremely vivid images, especially when your eyes are closed, and it might be a pretty harrowing experience. Mm-hmm. But I thought to myself, built so I can manage some drugs. Also, I read another study, which was like the main encouragement for me.
Abdullah, you're breaking up a little bit.
Released in 2021, and it was
Abdullah, you're breaking up.
Users, and they conducted LSD experiments with them. But the most important thing that they were trying to figure out was that, is there such a thing as a bad trip? Like a trip where you, am I?
Continue. Yeah, you said because you thought you were
Hello?
physically okay. I got. You said you were physically built. You can actually take it on, and then you talked about you read about bad trip. Continue on with the story. It's okay.
Okay, so I read this research about bad trips, and it was released in 2021, very recent, I think in April. And the idea behind it was region LSD users, like about 50. And they told them, have you ever had a bad trip? They gave, and they had a few bad trips. 50 of them reported bad trips. I think the sample size was a little bit bigger than 50. And all of them actually said that this bad trip resulted in a profound psychological revelation for them. And the goal of the research was that they wanted to prove there is no such thing as a bad trip. Even if you overdose on LSD, you can still go through the experience and live to see another day. Just might be a little bit stronger. So I tripled the dosage that I did last time, and I did 600 microgram. And it was one of the most powerful experiences I've had in my life.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. How long did it last for? How many hours were you in?
19 hours. I started at 9 a.m. And it finished about 6 a.m., something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't sleep. I only slept like about a couple of hours afterwards. And I'm planning to sleep. That was yesterday, by the way.
Yeah, that was yesterday, by the way. This
trip happened yesterday.
Yeah, I was on a phone with you.
Yeah. So it lasted for a pretty good amount of time. You cannot sleep. I couldn't sleep. I put my head at 10 p.m. I simply couldn't sleep. It was way too intense for me, and I was still tripping up to a very long time in the night. So yeah.
Okay, and I think it was a good trip because you were like at least the time I spoke with you over the phone, you were laughing and giggling, and you sounded like such a fucking hippie. I was like gonna kill myself. It's all about the vibration. It's all about the vibrations, man. It's all about the vibrations, man.
It was first off, there was so much fucking vibrations, it was uncontrollable.
You didn't lose any power over your physical presence.
I did. I completely did. So I took the tabs, and they're in like bladder paper. So you have to take them, move them with your tongue a little bit, keep them underneath your tongue for like 5 minutes, and then you swallow. And
that's what you see. Listen, lady, that's what you need to do.
Famous last words. So yeah, I took them, and then after 40 minutes, I started getting like a lot of anxiety. I was pretty scared. I was visibly shaking, and it was at one point I kind of regretted that I took that, and I thought like maybe I should vomit, because I was genuinely terrified. Like, you know, the feeling when you know that you are like going to you fucked up. This is bad.
That feeling.
Bad.
Yeah.
You have fucked up. Maybe you've done a very horrible mistake. Like, and and I do, like, my rational mind was telling me, it's like, yeah, people have done this before, but it's my other like primitive part of my brain is telling me, yeah, but you don't know what happened to them afterwards. And like, did they come out the same person?
Yeah.
Did they come out a worse person? And it was, yeah, I was visibly shaking. I tried to sit down. I do a lot of meditation. So I tried to sit down in a meditation pause and try to like calm myself down. I couldn't. My leg couldn't bend. I was really terrified. Like my leg was I barely had control over my legs. And that was minute 40. And before any of that, like nothing happened. It was just good. I was just like watching something. Yeah, but at minute 40,
did you prep anything prior? Did you have any, like some people say, like, did you work out? Did you have a diet or set an intention for the trip? Like some people say
I took a pretty big protein shake just because like I thought with like a big shake that has like a lot of macronutrients, a lot of carbs, a lot of fat, a lot of protein, just because I know I'm going to be dysfunctional and I'm going to lose control of my body for a while. So I prepared for that. I cleaned the house just to get into some sort of a calm state. And I cleared my entire calendar. So I was okay. I had my wife, she was like, I told her I'm going to do LSD, but last time I did it, it was pretty okay. I was chuckling. It was fine. I had complete control of my body. I didn't tell her I tripled the dosage.
Hey,
I still didn't tell her I tripled the dosage.
Remember the time I took LSD? Yeah. Well.
Yeah. So let's get to the nitty gritty details to skip the foreplay. Like I took it about 40 minutes in. I was almost entirely in the experience for the first 2 hours. Like at minute 40, I was recording most of this in a notebook. At minute 40, I started having issues gripping the pen. I started having issues focusing. And at minute 50, I remember just trying to literally grab the pen just to write 50, it started. And I just remember, I looked at the notebook yesterday and it was just 5. That was as much as I could do. Just the symbol of the 5. That's as much as I could do. And then the pen dropped and I just dropped to the floor. I don't remember much about my physical body afterwards. It's pretty much done. And by the way, I still have neck pain, horrible neck pain, because I was basically clutching on I didn't realize this, but I was biting extremely hard. And I was clutching kind of like a seizure victim. Grabbing my neck muscles, like tightening it really hard. And I actually still have problems sitting upright. And my shoulders fucked up because I smashed it on the wall for whatever reason. I have no idea what I was doing.
Shit, so, your body went into fucking panic. Your muscles were tensing up. I don't know if it's called a seizure. I don't know if that's the term that they use for it, but yeah, that your neck muscles were tense as fuck. Your head was pointing upward, kind of a thing.
Yeah, I think I don't know what happened.
You were biting down on your own on your teeth, not on your lip or anything, right? Yeah.
Yeah, on my teeth. Yeah. Like, but I couldn't eat breakfast this morning because it was really hurting. My jaw is still hurting. So I might actually go to a hospital or something like that just to see if I broke something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. So I don't remember what happened after minute 50. I remember what I saw, but I don't really remember what happened with my physical body. And after like 2 hours, I think, I got my consciousness back. I was still sitting very high, but there was still a lot of vibrations and my state of mind was completely different. But after 2 hours, I kind of started being able to move, like pee, for example, because I got my consciousness back and I really wanted to pee. And to this moment, because I barely was able to move, to this moment, I actually don't know if I peed in the bathroom, toilet, or not. I just remember peeing. I checked this morning. It was good. There was no issues. Nothing. Nobody peed anywhere. But I don't know if it like evaporated or something because
Absorbed into
my
the
wife.
carpet?
I don't know. Maybe I have to check the house. There was some weird shit in there.
Check your check your wife's clothes, the closet. He left a puddle there. Shit.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and I started having like mini blackouts while I'm walking. After those 2 hours, like I wanted to go to the bathroom, and I remember just phasing out in the like in there, and I just kind of got my consciousness back, and I realized I was my pants were around my ankles, and I didn't know whether I should pee or not, and I didn't know if I was cold or hot, so I covered myself up, went to back to bed, not to the floor like an idiot, and covered myself up, tried to prop my neck. But I didn't know if I was cold or hot. I physically didn't know. So I didn't know if I should cover up or not. Like that sense, I didn't figure it out. How do you know if you're cold or hot?
Wow.
So yeah. That like my physical body went into some weird shit, but it was a great experience. I saw some really interesting stuff in there.
How did it begin when you shot into it, basically? What was it that you saw?
I don't remember. Really, I don't remember. I remember a lot of stuff I saw, but I can't tell you which moment in time that occurred. Like for anybody who did psychedelics, heavy dosage of psychedelics, time that becomes a really funny thing in there. So I can't tell you when that image occurred or how or what was the incentive behind it. I can just tell you the images I saw. But time becomes a really funny thing. Like I was moving. One time I was a wolf running around in the forest. One time I felt like I was a particle of sand in an ocean, and one time I felt like I was being swallowed by a spider, and that was a really terrifying thing, actually. Because I saw the bowels of the spider, and it really fucking freaks me out.
Oh, you went in. Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, but it was fucking freaky. When I called you, because I called you about that was like hour 5. That was like when the things started coming down a little bit. I had some sort of understanding about where I was.
Yeah. Like I called you and I wanted to like do a joke and some shit. I was gonna tell you a joke, and then like we regularly do, and then suddenly you're like, you don't want to talk to me. I'm tripping. You're the music, man. And I was like, I thought at first I was like,
no, because
is he kidding me? Then I was like, oh no, it's for real. He's legit. He's legit on LSD right now. I was like, fuck. And I called you, and you. This is how the call went. I called you, and you were laughing like kind of like Joker when Batman was torturing him. And you see, like right now you're laughing. It goes like there's a beginning to it. The laughs last night was more like. The beginning was more like the beginning of the laughter. The beginning of it was missing. It's just the middle starts for a long time, and you're laughing. You're like, "Hey man, ask your question. I'm in the zone. Ask your question. Ask." And you asked me to ask you a question 5 times, and then you were like, "Wait, how many times did I ask you to ask me a question?"
I didn't know.
How many hours has it been?
I
and like
very
we've
little
only been talking for 10 minutes, and now you're like, how many hours has it been?
I felt like I was with you on the phone for like a year, and it felt like I was looking at the phone, grabbing it, and yelling. Because my wife, I realized that she was having a meeting because it was a fucking working day. And I realized that she was having a meeting, and I didn't know how loud I was. I genuinely had no idea.
Yeah, and you asked me, it's like,
So,
how loud am I? And I said,
yeah.
like, no, you're talking normal. He said, oh, so I'm not yelling? I'm like, yeah, no, you're cool. But in your head, it sounded like you were screaming, right?
Yes, it sounded like because there was so much noise. And one of the reasons I wanted to keep the conversation going is because I was seeing, I was locked in my room. Okay, I didn't want to get out because I had very little control of my body. I didn't want to get out, so I was locked in my room, and I was looking basically at the ceiling. And I shit you not, the entire fucking ceiling, the closet, the bed, everything was covered with octopus tentacles. And I was genuinely trying to get somebody to away from me not to think about this, because if I closed my eyes, I was surrounded by those tentacles and bugs and so much fucking spiders. And I didn't want to close my eyes because I felt like if I close my eyes and I let go and I don't realize that, dude, I'm tripping. This is a trip. Just relax. There is nothing. If I didn't keep telling myself that, I was genuinely scared I'm going to scream and lose my mind.
Oh shit! Yeah, you didn't tell me that. At one point, you did. You said you were talking to Jesus, and you were talking with Jesus, and I asked you something, and you suddenly were like, "Huh? Yeah, I was having a conversation with Jesus, and you just interjected." I was having a. I remember this part. This word you said. I'm having a very boring conversation with Jesus.
So, you'd think he'd be interested. You'd think so. You'd think so. I mean, the calendar is named after him, right?
Yeah, you think he would have some thoughts you want to share, and I thought,
No.
and I said, I think you want to ask him. I want to ask him a question. I said, what do you think about the Jews? And it says like Jesus for saying like, I don't care, he killed me. Why would I care about them Jews? And I was like, wow, you're having anti-Semitic trips. Wow.
I was in the zone, man. There's no race in there. There's no race.
There's no race in there, man. And it was like, and then you said Zoroaster turned to Cthulhu.
Yeah, that was not joking. I'm not joking. That happened.
Wow.
Because I was reading a history book about there was a big chapter about Zoroaster, and there was a picture of Zoroaster, and there was even some quotes about him. So I had a mental image, and that happened like 2 days ago. I was reading the book, so I still had an image. So when you asked me, "Hey, is Zoroaster there?" I had an image of how he should look like. So he immediately turned into Cthulhu, started looking at me, and I was like, okay, I don't know what to do now.
He was like, what's up? Want some of this, boy? Want to fuck with me?
No, but the music was one of the most, it's a lifesaver. I think
Yeah,
that,
you were sharing some music with me over. I sent that to. I sent a Matthew McConaughey staring at the rain video to you that maybe help you calm down, and of course the trippy music for all the Pink Floyd songs is a "Wish You Were Here" song.
yeah, that was good too. That was good. But the most calming thing about the entire experience was the music. With music, I felt like I can think. I can ask myself questions. I can try to explore things, because I had a few questions written down about things that I wanted to explore and ask.
Mm-hmm.
And, I didn't, like, just telling you, I didn't want to do this for joy.
Yeah.
I really had a few questions I needed to figure out. I try to think about like I have a lot of dreams, and I try to write down the dreams. And like me and you, we talk a lot about Jungian analysis and the subconscious and images that come from dreams and the mandala and those things. And I wanted to explore those images a little bit, the images that I saw. And I had a few questions, but at one point I wanted to ask those questions. And there was a few instances where I almost wanted to glimpse an answer to it, but I realized that there was a few images from the dreams that I have, and they were closed doors in the trip. I tried to break them open. I tried to like do something with it, but they were just closed. And I barged into one of the rooms finally, and I started saying, it's like, okay, I really want to understand this. What does this symbol mean? What is this? And one of the images in my dreams was actually a vampire. Was a big man. He had giant white wings and bloodshot red eyes. And that was an image in one of my dreams. And I wanted to ask, like, who are you? Who should you be representing? And when I barged in the door, he was there, and he lifted his hand. His eyes turned red. He lifted his hands and more or less kind of like telepathically pushed me out of the door. And he said, you're not ready. And he said, come back when you're ready. So there was, I do realize there is a lot of layers hidden way beneath.
So you saw the same guy you saw in your dream in your trip?
Yeah.
Shit.
I was looking for him. One of the questions that I wanted is to ask, like, who are you supposed to be? Like, you had a dream not too long ago about basically the apocalypse.
Yeah. Beginning of 2021.
Yeah, and it was a shitty time in history.
Yeah, little did you know. Wow.
Little did you know. And your dream was very apocalyptic. It had images, and it even had an image of a demon woman. Like,
basically the angel of death that came to Earth to take lives.
Exactly. So I would imagine
very weird symbol on her chest.
Yeah, and I would imagine if you were going to do the trip, you would want to talk to her and ask her like a little bit about who are you supposed to be, and that's something natural. So
yeah, it is. Yeah, it's if I ever do trip, I will want to go and explore what was that. Like, I do want to see why I always dream of labyrinths.
That's a good question.
Is like, it's not always the same labyrinth, but always the structure of the place around me turns into a labyrinth, which I already know the answer to. But I've never tripped before. You've never had any trips, but I mean, up until recently, you've never had any experiences with psychedelics. Like up until like 2 months ago, I've had zero experience with psychedelic or any drug for that matter. But like that. But that's the thing, is like, if there is an opportunity to peel off or unlock or untangle something that could actually represent the thing that I'm dealing with or I'm seeing a lot, I would love to be able to explore it. The one that I had for the dream, for example, for the symbol on the chest, I remember I found the Hebrew word that the silhouette between the two Hebrew words, damn it, I forgot I sent it to you. It was something regarding death or something regarding life. I forgot, damn it. The silhouette between the two Hebrew words was the marking that I saw on her chest. Not each separate word, but then the shape it created in the middle.
I remember you sent it. I remember you sent something very, very similar to that. Yeah, I remember the image.
So that was it for me. So, and it's funny that I'm saying like which is very weird. Like I can't imagine how scary it is. Like how many times you see this white dude? By the way, this podcast is edited or anything, so just don't. I'm not gonna share as much as you want, or I'll edit anything out if you want. It's like simple as that.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's no worries. I'm pretty okay with that.
How many times did you see this vampire guy?
Once.
Made quite an impression.
A huge impression because so I do have an analyst. Don't know if he's a certified therapist or not, but he graduated from a school for Jungian analysis, and he's nice. Basically, yeah, you can call him like my therapist, although he likes to be called
Jungian analyst. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he likes to be called the analyst more. So we do talk about dreams a lot, and he's a pretty smart guy, and we discuss a lot about me and how those symbols that I see in dreams, which I highly suggest anybody listening to the podcast to write down your dreams, because it will make you remember the dreams more, actually. That's just very important. Write down the dream as soon as you have it. Don't try to like go to the bathroom or something. Just have a phone next to you or a notebook and just write it down as little detail as possible, as much as detail as possible. Doesn't matter, as long as you have like some hooks that you can come back to. So I tried to write some of this, and we discuss it during the sessions. And this vampire, my parents died recently, and I've been having some really big existential issues with family, with a lot of things. And what the analyst has told me is that this vampire could represent the undead nature of your family, because I faced that vampire. We were supposed to fight in the dream, and like he said, it's basically the dead / undead nature of your current situation. You're still haunted by family. You didn't forgive, you didn't forget, because like me and my parents, they died on, I never got to say goodbye, and we had a very, very huge, big fights before, and they passed away, and I've never was able to get closure. So I wanted to explore this part a little bit. I wanted to actually ask, like, who is this vampire supposed to be? And my analyst told me multiple times it's a great technique that you can do this, which is active imagination. Jung talked about it a lot, which is basically with images, try to interact with them. Don't guide the conversation. Just try to ask them a question, like, who are you? And see what comes out of it. Don't try to force the conversation. Even if you forced it, sometimes it will result in something illuminating to you. It reveals, why did your brain conjure up that image?
I've tried it poorly a few times, but yeah, it suddenly works. It doesn't work until it does. You see, it's like it's like I was like having an image of a dice. This was actually yesterday. I maintained an image of a dice in my head for some reason, and this dice suddenly just started rolling, fell down some pixels, and went down to it was almost like a what do you call it, a Minecraft map. Minecraft looking map, and then rolled again, but it would look like on each side, instead of numbers, it was like old ancient Chinese or something, like scriptures on each side. And then I snapped out of it, but it was like weird that you suddenly just started going, because I got conscious of what's happening.
That's pretty interesting, actually, and it's meaningful, because I'm a more materialistic person. Might say that this is just random brain neurons firing. Yes, they're firing randomly, but as you just mentioned it, they kind of made a a coherent story. So you weren't like doing dice and then you started seeing a donkey juggling lemon pies. It made a more coherent story when you said it. So maybe there is something a little bit less random about it. And that's I think the basis of dreams. It's not just random neurons firing. Most of them are archetypal dreams. Dreams you see in myths and stories. So yeah, that's sorry for the rant. Just like,
no. Continue. I understand what you're saying. Continue. And you were saying that you use active imagination for the vampire.
Yeah. So I realized I was tripping, and I wanted to see if I can ask that question because I had the questions written down, and I looked at the question and I tried to close my eyes, try not to think about the weird tentacles that are surrounding me, and just try to ask my question, try to imagine how that question would be asked. And I saw those images, and I entered the door, and he just turned around and he basically forced me out. I had very little control of it. You'd be surprised how little control you have in the trip. I basically almost peed myself. So he just pushed me out and he said, "You're not ready. Okay. You should come back when you're ready." And he said that you're not deep enough. So I kind of understood what he meant, because there are deeper levels that you can go through. Like the LSD level that I was in after
Abdullah, don't be a fucking. Don't tell me you're gonna go for 900. Don't fucking go there.
I can, but next time I'll try to at least prop up my neck before I convulse on the floor.
Go for DMT or something. Something that is much more basic for you than compared to LSD. So, but I'll talk to you about that later. Continue on with your trip.
Synthetic shit is best.
Funny enough, Anthony Bourdain did ayahuasca, and after he was done with ayahuasca, I was like, LSD is so much better.
Because with ayahuasca, you don't trip for 19, 20, 18 hours. It goes out of your... Yeah, immediately. There is no hangover. That's the thing. I had a huge hangover. I had ringing in my ears for like since midnight to almost 6 a.m. I had ringing in my ears. I didn't have the fun experience. I just had, my neck was hurting. I couldn't sleep. My shoulder was really, really hurting. And I just wanted to go to sleep to reset the day. And I couldn't. I had to end up watching Bernie Mac's show for like 6 hours.
Wow. All right. Okay. Tell me more about this. Keep going with the trip. We'll discuss what you need to do for the going deeper, for God's sake, later.
So, but I do realize that there was the fun. I don't know how you would call it, but I'm just going to call it the fun layer of LSD, which is that when you're listening to music, like I listen to some rock music and some relaxing jazz music too. But when you listen to the rock music, I cannot tell you, Ardavan, how good the music felt. I felt like I am a musical note shaking God's hand, and just, it was the best musical experience in my life, especially if you listen to rock. I cannot tell you how good rock sounds on LSD. It is better than the best sex that you've ever had times a million. It is so good. And that's the fun part of LSD. But I feel like what the vampire and what my subconscious told me is that there are deeper levels that you can reach, which is more relating to the subconscious. With that one, it's not about tentacles or anything like that. At least that's how I would imagine it. It's more about making ends meet, understanding a little bit more about getting out of your ego out of the questions that you want to ask and have the trip tell you rather than you ask questions. And I had a glimpse of that for a while. Like I saw some pictures about, this is going to sound really funny, but like God waltz dancing with the devil. And it made sense because they were both poised as lions and they were looking at each other and they were interlocking. And what I understood from that, it was that from the attraction of the opposites, life was born. From the light and the darkness, life was born. So from the positive and the negative. If you just have the number 1 or the number 0, well, that's nothing because that's a singularity. That's just an individual. There is no meaning behind it. And if you have 2, like a 0 and a 1, a positive and a negative, a light and a dark, a good and an evil, you also don't have anything. You just have a constant conflict because they're just fighting with each other all the time. You need a number 3, a third. And Gurgeous talked about this. It's like you need a neutralizing element. And when that neutralizing element occurs, the entire algorithm is set for life. It just becomes a dance. And instead of them fighting, it becomes that one of them wins one time and the other wins another time. And then you introduce the concept of time, which is number 4. And then you just continue with those numbers, and each number would have a meaning. And I know none of this makes any logical sense, but I understood a lot of that from there. And I remember writing down in the notebook, as soon as I was able to do got my hand,
control of your hand,
motor functions back, I asked a question. I was like, what if the plus minus dance started differently? Like, what if the algorithm was set in this point in time, the number 3 hit so that not good one first or bad one first, but it happened the other way around? And what would happen to the universe if all of this just happened in a different direction? And it was, and I felt a little bit like that. Like I told you, I felt like a particle of sand in a sea of, in a dune, in a desert dune. And as soon as my rational brain asked, okay, you're the particle of sand. Well, who's moving you? There is a voice that told me you're asking a stupid question. It's not about the controller of the desert. It's about you. It's about how, it's not about the overarching rationality that you should try to use to penetrate and control things. No, there is something bigger than that. Don't think about it from a logical point of view. A particle of sand must be moved by wind. Don't think of it like that, because when you think of it like that, you already asked the wrong question. So, yeah.
It's hard to grasp, and I know the way you're speaking right now, I understand, because it's like you saw it and your brain could absorb it, but you can't really articulate it because you don't know what you saw really. It's in such an abstract realm what you're talking to me right now is that it's
I know.
Yeah, it's like, because this was part of our conversation yesterday. You were talking about Gurgeous. You actually texted me about Gurgeous. I said Gurgeous was right. It's like, okay. Unfortunately, I haven't got around to read about Gurgeous enough yet. Still incredibly fascinated by the fella. But and I know they have a center in Germany, I think. So I think you can look for it. And you were talking about how everything is in 3, that there was this 1 and a 0, and then there's a 1 and a 0, but there couldn't be a 1 without a 0, and 0 was the world began by evil. I think that's what you said.
True.
Yeah. Which was a little scary when I heard it. I was like, oh, what?
And this was in the Bible, like at least partly, that the world was chaos, and then the word of God spread across the chaos, and from there, I'm pretty sure I'm misquoting Genesis, but from there, life was born. Basically, like from the zero, from the chaos, from the feminine, or from the male, from whatever it is that you want to call, from the first opposite, you needed the second opposite for life to have occurred, and then you needed a neutralizing element, something, to make this dance start. And I know I'm talking about the same cryptic bullshit that I was talking about, but
it's hard to decipher. I know.
Yeah, and I don't think you can decipher it, because
no, maybe it's not meant to be deciphered. See,
it's not. It's just it feels like there is a dance going on, and feels like you can see those patterns of dance going around everywhere. The father becomes the child becomes the father, only to be
you'd be reborn
again, and then you are reborn, and then you go to then you die.
You said the world is the snake eating its own tail. Yeah,
exactly. And the world started because the snake decided to eat its own tail.
Oh yeah,
that's how the circle started.
Yeah, you said the snakes decided to stop going straight, only like X and Y, and decided to be like, all right, fuck it, I'll just eat my own tail.
Yeah, pretty much. And from there, the entire circle started, because it's a perfect shape that just keeps on going forever. So yeah, let me stop with the cryptic bullshit. But
it's fascinating. I love cryptic bullshit. I try to understand it, because that's pretty much like it's exactly like a dream. Like you're like, why the fuck did I see that? And sometimes it's on such a grand level, you might like be like, maybe it's not meant to be understood. Maybe why is it weird? Because it is. Like there's not a why to why is it weird. Why is it surreal? It's just what it is. So take it. Maybe you're not meant to understand it. It's ununderstandable, if that's a word.
Exactly. The ultimate unanswerable question should have an opposite unanswerable answer. Just like, Book of Five Rings, still you have to go fast but slow, or it's supposed to be cryptic. That's the idea behind it. And if it is cryptic, the attraction of opposites. How does 0 and 1 attract? They're literally opposites. That sentence doesn't make any sense, but they do, and that's how you get light and dark. So
this is brilliant. Okay.
That's some stuff that you feel, and you feel like you're embraced by the universe completely. And I think I understood a little bit about the snakes and the bowels that I was imagining. It felt like I went underground. But it was scary, because I still had my rational mind telling me I am seeing fucking snakes in my bedroom. But if I just stopped thinking about it like that, and I thought about it that this is what's inside Mother Earth, I think it's terrifying because of they might bite me or something. But
it's just part of life.
That's just part of life, and you will see it when you die. You will go underground. So it's not something that you can escape.
Oh, it ain't gonna happen to me, man. I'll be going out in the blazes. Fuck you. Turn my body to ash. Fuck you, Mother Earth. You ain't getting this shit.
I thought we were going to talk about suicide bombing at hour 2. Man, you just skipped through it. What the fuck?
Suicide bombing at hour 2. Yeah, guess whose body Mother Earth didn't have.
And when an Iranian says he's gonna go out in a blaze of glory, like, just
things are a little different, It's not a General Custer going out guns blazing, it's a different kind of blaze.
Exactly. All you need is just a turban and a nice dish dasha, and you put that title on Fox News, and that's all you need. That's all you need. You're just gonna get like parachute troopers
Yeah.
coming in.
Yeah, you need that and a tagline about the Jews, and then you're dead. That's it.
Yeah, there are very, very easy, straightforward ways in our modern world to make your life very interesting in a very short amount of time.
The blazes of glory don't have many forms. That's what God said in Genesis, in part 2 of Genesis.
But
Wow.
it's I do imagine you do a lot of meditation. I know that, and you try to think about those questions a lot, and you write your dreams too. So there are levels that you can reach that are very, I would say, maybe deeper than a psychedelic journey through those meditations and through those dreams. And it doesn't have to be like terrifyingly long meditation, break your legs and start breathing, hyperventilating for 3 hours. No, but just thinking about those things, I think you've already reached states that in your subconscious that are equivalent to that. It just, you might not now know about it.
I don't know. I don't think so, to be honest. Meditation wise, I've only managed to have like maybe 2 experiences that could have been declared somewhat of a journey in my mind, but that was for like a very brief moments, and it was unintentional. It like happened one time I was meditating and it felt good, and suddenly I just slowly just suddenly felt like something is like a breeze is taking me in a way. That was the experience that I had, and I think I might have saw colors, but that was that's what I could give to. But I will not tell you that I've had anything close to what you had. And the first time I had, I've already spoke about this before, was going through a pretty stressful period in my life. I was like drinking like loads of coffee before I go to sleep, and I would just go into the shower at like 2 o'clock in the morning. I would go in the shower, and pretty crazy, but and I would like, okay, I have the caffeine in my system, so you're not gonna really sleep. No matter how hard you try, you're not gonna sleep, but you might be able to reach a border between the two. That's where some people believe like the meditation stage is that little gap you have between going into deep sleep and being awake. Yeah, some people will like attribute it to that in particular, that particular moment. Like that's actually also the times that sometimes like you have an idea and you're about to fall asleep, and just as you're about to fall asleep, that idea suddenly like has this spark to it. Something happens to it, something comes to it. You're like, oh shit. And then but you don't get up to write it down, you just go to sleep.
Yeah.
A lot of the writers like practice that. Tarantino like talks about when he has an idea, when he reaches a block or something, he would has these ideas in his mind, and he would go into this very, very hot tub, and he would just lays in it, and he just like thinks about those ideas constantly, and he kind of dozes a little bit slowly. Things suddenly would come to him. Edison used to use that as well, and things would suddenly come to him, and he would get up and write it down on a piece of paper and go on his way, and he would come back to it later. Thomas Edison used to do that. He would have a metallic plate under his chair, right under his arm, right under the arm of his chair, and
metallic plate,
just a piece of metal, and he would hold a few ball bearings in his hand. And he would either, as you do, yeah, and he would just sit there. How else are you gonna hold balls in your hand? back in 1800s,
when I hold my ball bearings,
I ain't no faggot. And he would just, but he would just stare at he would just zone out and stare at the flame, and he would zone out, and as soon as he would zone out, his hand would open and the ball bearings would hit the metallic plate, so he would wake up pick up the ball bearing again and would try it again to just constantly be in that realm of sleep, realm of awake and sleep. So he would, whenever he had a creative problem, that's how he would use to try to solve it. Or the guy who found the carbons, what's it called? The carbon's molecule.
Yeah, I understand what you mean.
He was trying to understand, the guy who was trying to understand, like, how does a fire works, and what does it burn, and what is a molecule that it would exceed, and that's what he was trying to figure out. And he was trying to, he was a guy who found out about carbon. I don't know if he did it deliberately, but he was just constantly had this idea in his head and wasn't really reaching anything. And apparently he dozed off looking at the flames. And at that little space between his wake and sleep area, the flames turned into little snakes eating each other. And suddenly he was like, carbon. Now, I don't know how that triggered to the carbon, but this idea of snakes gave that to him.
Interesting. There's a lot of merit to this, I would assume, because like me and you and everybody listening here, like, must have had such an experience. You doze off, you have a problem, and you feel like you understood the solution.
Yeah.
And you wake up and you know that you found the solution. You just need to re-find it right now. It's in your head. That's something that's actually pretty fascinating. Yeah. I would imagine some DMT or some something like that, some like maybe very tiny amounts of LSD called like microdosing might be methods to like simulate something like that.
People are, I mean, Silicon Valley are people, all the programmers and people that are using that in Silicon Valley, because it amplifies the brain activity times, I don't know, 1,000. So like you can just basically right now you can search brain functionality with and without LSD, and they've mapped it out, like how much more the wavelength of your brain goes up, and the connections between each lobe goes up.
True. I worked a little bit today, just cleaning up a few things in my email from yesterday and trying to do some tasks, and things are clearer. I don't have a voice in my head telling me that, oh, I forgot about this. How did I forget about this? Things are just smooth, really smooth. There's this very pleasant after effect that like you feel like you've had a very good sleep. And this is coming from a guy who slept 2 hours and been tripping for 20 hours almost before that. So like my body is requiring some relaxation right now, but I'm fully awake. I didn't have coffee or anything like that. I'm gonna see if I can eat something if my jaw settles down. So
yeah, just have some liquid diet for now. I suggest, considering. I don't know how hard were you biting down. Like I did had a time, like I remember waking up, like I was biting down on my own jaw really hard, as if I was trying to bite down on someone's flesh almost.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, why? Like I opened my mouth, I was like, fuck, it hurts. So
it does. And I tried to eat something at dinner time yesterday. So I was still trippy, like at around 8 p.m. or something, and I was still trippy.
Did your wife see you?
Realized, did I what?
Did your wife see you right away?
She saw me. I was a lot less interactive than the last trip. Mainly, and I remember I wanted to eat something, like just eat anything, just put a piece of bread in my mouth. And I put it and I started eating it. And then I realized that my mouth and teeth are extremely fascinating. And I started going with my tongue around and counting teeth. And I realized that I've been doing this for a really long time and my tongue muscle physically hurt. because I don't know how long have I been counting my teeth, how long have I been moving my muscle doing this, and by an unimaginable power of will, I settled down and started biting my. So I settle, because you enter this loop of doing something and forgetting that you've done it a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I ask you the question, how loud am I? Have I asked this question before? And you don't know. You don't know.
Yeah. You won't realize. For me, I was like, wait, he just asked me, and then I was like, oh, he's in the loop. He's not gonna. It's gonna take him a while to break out. That's why they think like the Vikings who used to take the berserkers who used to take mushrooms were like so fierce, was because the Amanita muscaria, one of the ways that it would fuck you up was that people would experience a lot of this loop motion involved in it. So I imagine that loop motion involved a sword and an axe and a lot of ups and downs and ups and downs.
Exactly. I kill bad guy. You kill bad guy. Reset the loop. I kill bad guy. I feel good.
Hey, how many times have I killed this bad guy?
Yeah, I can definitely imagine that. It's a very, very powerful feeling. It's a very, very powerful feeling. I would definitely recommend the experience to everybody. I would definitely recommend you do it. One notable thing that I recommend you do is make sure when you do it, you are in a lying position that's comfortable for you, and try to have somebody who actually knows what they're doing, because there is this, like I read about this, it's part of the culture of psychedelics that if you've done it enough times, you kind of know the routine, you know the ups and downs, you know the peak, you know, you have some telltale signs about what's the person feeling like, because it's a collective experience. You will have your own experience naturally, but there are, just because I've seen some psychedelic art from the 60s, from the counterculture movement in the US, and I understood many of it. Like, you understand why do you see an eye with rippling colors? Like, that's stuff that you actually see. That's stuff that you see. So there is a little bit of a collective experience going on when you do this drug. So if somebody has done it before, they would know where you're at, especially if they know what they're doing. Like, there's this guy called Thomas McKenna. He actually wrote a taxonomy.
I was thinking about it right now. I was actually thinking about them right now. Here, continue.
He wrote a taxonomy about the creatures he found in the trip, which was amazing. Because
robotic elves?
Yeah, robotic elves, tentacled monsters. It's amazing. It's amazing, and that guy has been doing some LSD for a while. He's a veteran.
Yeah, he is. I don't know if you saw I told you about the purple lady, right? That Jordan Peterson's daughter Michaela was talking that she saw, and turns out many other people also saw her, but that wasn't on LSD. That was on psilocybin, actually.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I can imagine. Maybe you should tell it to the audience who don't know.
Basically, people who've ingested psilocybin, which I think it contains DMT, and people who've ingested ayahuasca as well, have, and people who've even smoked DMT, anything that is like within the realm of the DMT world, they have had the experience of meeting a purple gypsy. This lady is like completely purple and gives them a lot of love and care. And some people who've taken ayahuasca also said about meeting a reptile-ish woman who's like a mother, who's like a Gaia-ish kind of a character. But yeah, the people who've actually taken that, who have seen this purple lady, and all of them, and some guy actually illustrated it, and you can actually just YouTube it right now. Tales from the Trip, purple lady. I think that would actually just show you the guy who actually talked about him. And Michaela Peterson also saw that purple lady when she took 5 grams of psilocybin mushroom in a tea, and it really set her off to see this thing hovering right above her and looking down at her with care and love. Yeah, don't want to ruin the dude's story, but basically, the guy who saw this girl actually, they saw this purple lady, like went on dates with her, was in love with her, they were in love with each other. He said that the purple lady got jealous because he has a girlfriend in the real world. And he said he kept pressing her. Like, okay, look, I get it. You guys are all lights and colors, but I need something more. Whenever I ask you for what is it, what makes this so special? Show me something that is not just this. You just show me more of this explosion of colors and stuff like that. You just suddenly take me on this massive journey of color. He said that his friend he gave his friend DMT, and his friend started panicking, and he tried to calm him down. And when his friend heard his voice, he instantly calmed down, and he opened his eyes and he said, "Hey," the dude's name is Shane. He said, "Hey,
Yeah.
dude, Shane, they love you here." He said, "Huh?" He said, they love you here. There were these creatures who were hiding. Now they saw me, they were like, "Hey, is that Shane? He comes here all the time. We love Shane." And and then the purple lady shows up and it says like, "Hey, tell Shane I care for him." And yeah, the dude tells her, "And there's this purple lady who wants to tell you that she cares for you." And he was like, "What the fuck?"
So you see, you understand, there is this collective element to it. There is. And are those creatures real? Or are they...
I think you're muted, by the way.
Oh, crap, I'm muted. I was muted. Sorry about that. Go on.
Oh, yeah. You were saying, are those creatures real?
Yeah. Are those creatures real? Like, could be. Maybe they're just real by virtue of us being human, tripping on the same psychedelic chemical substance.
Maybe they're tripping about us. Like it goes into that like concept of, okay, what is reality then? Like, what is if the way that Jung looked at the world, like the girl who parents took him to Jung and they told him like, my daughter thinks she was on the moon because the daughter dreamt that she was on the moon, and Jung said no, she was on the moon. It's like she saw that and she was on the moon. Like it wasn't like he didn't try to debunk it. He was just like, yeah, she saw it, she felt it. So isn't that what really counts as your reality? Because I see and perceive something.
Exactly. It's on a level of analysis, on a level of reality. She was on the moon, and there is nobody that can tell you anything else. Like, imagine you went to China and you, for some reason, you changed your passport, and you just have the tale of you went to China. You went to China. You just don't have any legal proof to prove it. Well, can somebody tell you, no, you didn't go because there is no proof of it? You didn't take any pictures, you didn't do anything. Well, that's to fuck them if they tell you that.
That was what people who experience intravenous DMT were talking about, which is like a DMT experience times 1,000,000,000,000, basically, because you're getting it right into your vein. There was a study that was conducted on the intravenous DMT, and people would come out of it with a profound change, and they didn't, and all of them, what they had, one thing they all had in common was that they weren't, when they were talking about a space that they were at, and the doctors were like, you didn't leave this room, you were here. In their minds were like, no, but I was in a place. It wasn't a hallucination. I was on the fucking moon, if that's what that's where it was. But it's like, that's where I was. There's no way you can change my idea that I didn't went there.
Exactly. Like, that thing happened, that experience occurred. If somebody told me today, it's like, hey, I know you've seen this like dance, that God is dancing with the devil and all of that stuff, but that just happens because this chemical substance, it contains this molecule, which when activated by your brain cell, it will produce an image of holiness or whatever. I will tell him, go fuck yourself, because I do understand you're trying to objectively explain it, but that's something that the phenomena, the experience was way too structured of a story for you to dismiss it as just neurons firing. It was, I'm not saying there is a metaphysical aspect to it. I'm just saying it's borderline metaphysical. It's,
Yeah. It is physical.
It is metaphysical. It's like up to, on a point, like I don't believe in aliens or anything like that, but I can't say that I don't believe in the universe. Okay. Yeah. Universe is infinite. So yeah. Is there, did I actually understand the secret of the universe with the ones and zeros? Maybe. I do think the universe is infinite, so my finite, tiny little brain will have a very hard time understanding infinity. But maybe there was an interesting aspect of it. So, and I'm pretty sure you ask anybody, like I'm going to have a meeting with a friend of mine, who he's an older gentleman. I think he's a common friend of ours. Yes. And I'm going to have a meeting with him in a couple of weeks. And he's done a lot of LSD in his day. He's in his 40s now, so he doesn't do that anymore. But he was very busy, and I was trying to get a meeting with him for a long time, physically, because he lives far away, I live far away. And for work, he was like, yeah, I can't do it. As soon as I told him, hey man, I tripped yesterday. I heard that you tripped, you told me you tripped before. I saw X, Y, and Z. Maybe we can have a chat about it. He immediately sent me a calendar invitation. And he was like, okay, be here at that place 2 days from now. That's it.
Yeah.
There was this like secret handshake. Like immediately he was like, oh, you dreamt about that stuff too. Okay, I definitely need to talk to you about this.
Shit.
So this is also an aspect of it. There is the collective aspect of it. I was telling my wife, who has never done psychedelics, that as soon as you do it, you will understand like a secret handshake. You will understand a little bit more about arts and cultures and things that you like will literally shatter your brain if you try to think about it before you do the experience. Yeah. And there is no language that can explain those symbols. You just you see it in arts and culture. You will see it forever afterwards.
Yeah. One thing I'm fascinated about and is the fucking fact that it was such a prominent part of our culture back in the day. Like fucking Marcus Aurelius even tripped.
That's true.
Yeah, you can go to this. The island is still there. It's called the island is still there, and the temple. They found the temple, the remains of it at least, because Christians fucking destroyed that shit. Fucking Christians, man! I tell you.
I know.
Yeah, couldn't they kill Jesus a little quicker?
But fucking Christians.
Fucking Christians, man. Right? Yeah, they're the party pooper. They ruined the trip.
Exactly. They ruined the trip. It's like, oh, I don't want to have drugs. You don't want to have drugs, and I'm just gonna call them drugs because fuck you.
Because fuck you. Exactly. But the place is called Naxos Island, where the Temple of Demeter is.
Oh.
Yeah, and each emperor would actually have to a Roman emperor, and assuming the Greek emperors would actually have to would as a rite of passage they would travel at the beginning of their course, basically. The nobles. I don't know if I don't think this was allowed to common folk, but the nobles, I assume, would travel to Naxos Island, and where the head priestess of the temple would concoct this wine. And the wine, I think, was, if I'm not mistaken, let me 1 second. The wine was called the Kikon, the Kikion.
Huh. And it was laced with psychedelics.
It was laced with psychedelics. They don't know what they put in it. They assume it might have something to do with ergot, and some they assume they're probably the concoction was different, and they all would see a goddess. They would meet something. They would meet a deity as a rite of passage to basically claim the throne and be the leader. So it's in Zoroastrians apparently had this thing called Salma, which the Indians have a version of it called Halma, which is the more famous one. The Zoroastrian one is not really known because all the scriptures of Zoroastrians were destroyed thanks to lovely people. Thanks to the lovely Arabs, they burned all the scriptures, and there's nothing really remained of what they would make it out of. Some assume there was a thorn bush that would grow in the desert that if you pound the shit out of it, you would gain like 1 or 2 drops out of it, which would cause a psychedelic effect. And Indians had it. Indians probably had psilocybin as well because it would grow on cow shit. And cows are sacred, and they would basically like take it out of the fruit of it, and possibly, I mean, a lot of people were saying like they would see, that statue with many hands. Yeah, like they would see those images.
I can definitely understand and imagine that most of the religious images came from somebody who you might call as a shaman, who basically, or a priest, or a holy man, or a medicine man, whatever you want to call it based on the history. That person has tripped on something. And I can swear by it. I'm not saying Jesus or Zoroaster did trip, but I do say that the images that they were talking about are too psychedelic for you to dismiss it.
One thing I'm saying is that Moses definitely tripped. The burning bush, that's a little too on the nose, okay?
That guy inhaled something.
That dude inhaled a shit ton of excellent material in a closed environment. Dude invented hotboxing. That's what happened.
100% organic, untouched by any additives. Beautiful, natural, good for your skin.
Yeah, you know why he went to the top of the mountain for 10 days after they crossed the road? Because he was like, "Fuck! I need to find it. I need to find that bush."
Yeah, I need to find that bush.
They want some answers. They want some stuff. I need something. I need to talk to him again.
Exactly. And like Moses, this is in the missing 14th commandment, which is that there were penguins everywhere and ninjas. But he dropped that tablet. That wasn't included.
Thou shalt not spank a penguin. What? What?
Penguins are holy. We call them emperor penguins for a reason.
And it's like, foot fetish belongs to the camels. What? What? Moses, the fuck is this?
Smoke some of this shit, man, and you'll understand. But that was the redacted version. That was the Christians redacted that.
They were like, guys, we need to get rid of this. This is too much of an embarrassment. The whole Holy Crusade was and it was an operation designed to destroy some of the remaining parts of the tablet.
It's like, yeah, it's like we got an image to maintain here. God damn it! Like,
God damn it.
Like Mo, I like you. I like you. You did fuck up a little bit, like.
but yeah, so they all had that in their religions, and maybe like people are now trying to have a discovery of it again in some way or another.
True,
but
true. Like there was this talk that I was it's gonna happen in a couple of weeks from now, and it's a researcher who's trying to say that, like, what if we can somehow legalize MDMA, like have it FDA approved, or LSD, and have it accessible to everybody. Okay, like you will trip for 24 hours, but if you know that you're going to trip for 24 hours and you're okay with that, like, what if you can have this as which is something I'm definitely going to do for my own child. I don't have kids, but I'm hoping to plan it with my wife, and I will do that as a rite of passage, as a rite of adulthood. As soon as my kid turns into an adult, I will try to put them into a psychedelic journey, and it is something that they need to experience. I feel like you will come out of it a better person. You don't have to have a fucked up life to do. You can just do it, and you still can be like healthy, normal person. And I would be very excited if this becomes legalized. Like, I can imagine that maybe in the next 10 years we will live in a different world. It's
already like a lot of countries are already legalizing it. A lot of the MDMA, for example, or people are with PTSD are like recovering from PTSD because of the MDMA. And I mean, if it's legalized and the stuff, it's pure, because if somebody wants to do it, they'll fucking do it. So best that you give them something that is actually true rather than rat poison, just to bring down the risk factor.
Yeah,
maybe it will benefit people. I don't know, but it's I don't see I'll see it's a mistake for making something illegal. And I don't know, we'll see about that. Half of Europe is already on it, so most probably the rest of the world is gonna follow up soon enough.
That's true. And like in Germany, I told you about this, the LSD variant that I got. Like, I got my LSD fully legal. I went and paid even with a credit card. To a shop, to a physical shop. I didn't take it.
You walked out and showed it to a police officer. Look at it.
Lick it. Oh no! Don't touch this. It's my property. I have a receipt.
La 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 la. You can't touch me.
No, but I genuinely, I got it from a shop, paid with a credit card, got a receipt for it. It's in my bank transaction, and all of this was 100% legal. Like, wasn't illegal. The problem is that it was a legal loophole, because the shop, as I told you, they changed one molecule and rename it something different, and they just have the suffix of LSD there so that people can know. But it is basically LSD, and legally speaking, though, it is not, because LSD has a different compound, and that compound is illegal. But this variant is not, and they actually were able to release the second variant as well, 1V-LSD. The second one that I tried, 1V-LSD, was the one I tried yesterday. The original one I tried was 1CP-LSD. I can assure you, both are equally trippy. You are not going to have a bad situation using it. And I talked with the guy, and he said that they have a chemist, and that chemist, basically, he's like the LSD god, and he knows all the molecules, all the structure of it. And he said he can conjure up over 1,000 variations of it. And if it takes them a year to make one variation illegal, for him, it's too easy to modify it. I can see this happening as a very, very good startup idea in most Western Europe. So yeah.
It is good. But fuck, let's see what will come out of it for sure. But one thing that is, I don't want to take too much of your time. We're already spent an hour and a half. You need to go, by the way. We can wrap it up if you want.
Let's wrap it up in the like 10, 15 minutes.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's more than enough. One thing I wanted to ask before while we're on the subject is that I would recommend, just judging by what I read in terms of safety, to not try to two things. One, the vampire said you're not ready. There are deeper levels. And one way to assume it is that that he meant like maybe you need to like grind the paper into a powder and snort it or inject it right into your fuck it. Take it as a suppository, just shove it up your ass or something.
It's or the new LSD variant, the LSD enema.
The LSD enema. What will happen if your entire intestinal tract is fucking covered with LSD? Farting bubbles. And it's just I read as a safety or another thing I think he would possibly mean is that your level of experience in life and where you're at is not that you're deep enough to be ready for it. That's one interpretation, because the reason I'm linking it to the second part of my conversation is that what I've read regarding the intake of LSD, due to it being a more of an unnatural compound for the brain, is that the side effects that it can have, especially after between 15 and 20th take of LSD, and I'm not talking about people who've taken like this is like the 15th time. People who experience like 15 LSD trips. And I'm talking about people who were on a sensible human dose of 100 to 200 microgram. The people who have a sense of logic, not you. You clearly don't have any
self-preservation.
It altered their brain for the worst. It had side effects on their brain chemical level and cause chemical imbalances and possible effect on their brain neurons. So I would recommend you to, if you're ever gonna want to go for something deeper, either go for ayahuasca, because it's been known to be the thing that is like beyond DMT, beyond LSD, or go for DMT, or go for psilocybin.
More natural, not synthetic.
Something that is like your body, it knows exactly what it is, and can actually process it much quicker compared to a chemical compound. So that's
true.
Yeah, that's literally like it's. Yeah, that's the end of the conversation. But on that part, basically, like just go for something more natural, because if you do manage to make, like, I've read people who were doing 200 microgram of LSD for the first time on Reddit, and people who were experienced trippers were giving him tips, and they were like, dude, do not go for 200, do not go for 300. And they were talking about what they experienced and the possible side effects that they had from going above a certain dose. So I'm just saying, like, try to avoid doing something that can actually you can actually recover from. I mean, you did manage to control yourself after a little while, but like, imagine if you come back but you can't focus anymore, you can't do all the shit that you do as normal as anymore. So it's just bad news. So try to avoid doing that.
That's true. Also, you enter into uncontrollable loops. Like there was one funny thing is that there was a scratch in my leg. Like just a scratch in your leg, because your leg scratches, because why the fuck it wouldn't scratch? It's just a scratch on your leg. So you scratch it, but I scratched it and I didn't know if I scratched it.
You kept scratching it.
It started bleeding, and I looked at my hand and I saw that it was blood, but this is the first time I scratched my leg. and I didn't know how to stop. This, it's my brain is telling me I have to scratch my leg because I've never scratched it, but I got my fucking bleeding leg in here. It wasn't that big of a deal. It was just like a scratch, like how more like a burn. That's it. So I taped it up and it was fine. But after I got out of the state, but I can clearly see if I increased the dosage 100 micrograms more, maybe I wouldn't have stopped scratching that easily.
Yeah, maybe you're like, I imagine like, okay, like you had somewhat of a good experience yesterday.
Yeah.
But imagine if it was a 600 microgram of bad trip that could even cause you have a psychosis. Like you need to gamble. It's a gamble, you see.
It's a gamble, you see.
It's a gamble. It's like it's a Russian roulette with a double barrel shotgun, but only one of the barrels is full. So,
and there is if you read on the psychedelic literature, not literature, I want to say more folk tale, not scientific, but folk tale. They would tell you about the trips that never end. You enter into La La Land, and there is no fucking comeback from that. That's, I want to say bullshit. That being said, every lie has a shred of truth in it. So
I read about people who, I'm not talking about the like people who are I'm talking about actual people who have taken psychedelic to a considerable portion. The problem was that once they came back, they were still, actually some of them are not convinced that they're back. They think they're still tripping.
That's true. That's true.
So they're treating their life that they're having right now as if it's a hallucination for them.
Like John McAfee?
Yeah, actually, John McAfee was a prominent one. But I wish he was the only one. McAfee fucked up his system to a fucking max that he believed he was in a hallucination like all the time. But you read about the account of these people on Reddit who were like experienced for a year, 2 years, 3 years, that they thought like, yeah, you're not fooling me. I know I'm still tripping. The dude went for a job interview, and he was saying like, I was. He said he told the fucking interviewer, it was like, yeah, I know what you're trying to tell me, that I suck, that I am not taking care of my mother right. I know you're a symbol of like this, and the interviewer was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I don't know you. I don't know your mom. It's like, no, I know this whole thing is a symbol of what a fuck up I am in my life. I'm like, this is a McDonald's, sir. This is a McDonald's.
We just need a burger flipper, man.
Burger flipper. I just flip the fucking burger, you fuck. But that's it. And to end this, do you have any part of the trip you want to share, you found interesting, anything that like a journey you want to explain or anything, or otherwise we can just wrap it up?
We can just wrap it up. But one major reason, another major reason I wanted to do the trip is because I know ayahuasca. I'm going to do ayahuasca in a couple of months. And from what the shaman told me, is that a major part of the experience, if not the biggest one, is the build-up. The build-up is very important. If you just did it as an afternoon activity, it's not going to be profound. But if you do it as what the ancients tried to do, which is that they basically prepare for it for almost their entire life, becoming a newborn, reborn.
Yeah.
Then the experience will be a lot more profound. So I wanted to kind of like get my feet a little bit wet in the psychedelic scene before going for the what I would consider the ultimate experience. And that's one of the major reasons that I wanted to do it. So yeah, I do think also the build-up and the routine building up to it is a big part of it. Although, like, just telling you, music was fucking good. So
yeah.
even if you want to do it for fun, it was great.
Yeah, fucking you turn it. You just need a bandana. That's it. You turn into a fucking hippie. But it's when you mention the concept of being reborn, that's what I usually hear about ayahuasca. Joe Rogan, he hasn't done ayahuasca. I know he has done DMT, but his friend, this was like a month ago, I listened to his podcast. His friend Ari Shafir went to Ecuador and went to Ecuador and then went to some places in like the Amazon after that, and for an ayahuasca trip, and a legit ayahuasca trip. Went to a tribe basically. And that was like, he said the lady had a skull hat and stuff like that, and they were barely speaking English. And he said the guy who was taking them there said that he took a Sicario. Sicario is a cartel hitman there for an ayahuasca trip, which is, I am both intrigued and terrified. It's like I would love to meet Mike Tyson, but it's still terrifying experience. But seeing Mike Tyson on cocaine, you don't really want to be around him. And
telling Mike Tyson is like, oh, I fucked your mom.
There's a very famous picture of Mike on the internet with eyes red, and clearly he was snorting coke. He was just a white powder under his nose. You're like, shit, like that's, you're fucked.
He was baking.
He was having donuts, and you don't want to be around a man that is like completely capable of murder in a more unstable stage. And they gave him ayahuasca, and this is, I'm giving you a third hand from Ari Shafir basically. He said, did the Sicario, this guy who was killed for fucking Mexican and Colombian and God knows whatever South American cartel, he was punching the ground for like God knows how long, screaming, why?
Jesus.
And the trip was over. He got up. Luckily, he didn't kill anyone. Luckily, and he looked at the guy and said, "Thanks for this. I'm leaving the cartel. I can't leave them. I can't quit. So that means I have to disappear, and that's it. That's the end of that part of my life." And
God.
yeah, so that's how that story ended, folks.
And let's wrap it up at this note.
Let's wrap it up on that note. This was very fun, man. Thanks for doing this. Can't wait to speak more with you about the details of it. I know some of the stuff that is going to come to you in a few days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's touch base about this again. This was very fun, man. Thank you very much. Thanks for the talk.
Thanks for having me on the show. Thank you so much.
Thanks, brother. Take care, man. Cheers.
Bye.